The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
L.A. Straight up. Just go out to L.A. The new anthem. California Love Part 2. One time. To live and die in L.A. West side, west side, west side. To live and die in L.A. where everybody try to fatten their pocket. So many hustle for the cash, so it's hard to knock it. Everybody got their own bag.
Well, hello. God bless your community family, and welcome to Gang Talk with Sister Herron and Skipp Townsend. That's not Skipp. God bless you. Who is this sitting in?
Wazir Abdul Jalil, Outreach Coordinator with Seeds Find Second Call and Project Cry No More.
And dear friend. So, God bless your community family, and welcome to this very special hour, very specific hour that we have every Thursday at this time, thanks to Morris Media Studios, right here in the Crenshaw Corridor. We're proud and happy to be here, and proud and happy to be here for this reason and to be talking to you. So I noticed tonight that we had something new as we were coming on, and I haven't heard that since radio. And the funny thing about that, it's a disclaimer. It's a studio disclaimer. We are not responsible for the words and comments of our... So, we had to have that on radio because it was a Christian broadcast, and some of our friends, bless their hearts, we're all from the street, and we bring the street language with us. And on the radio, on that network, you can't bring that language to their microphones. So, and we talk about very serious subjects, from law enforcement to gang homicide to domestic violence to bullying. We talk about all of that. So we're not afraid of a disclaimer because we're here to tell the truth. It's an obligation to our community. So God bless you once again, and welcome to this hour. And in what we normally do is to thank our guests from last week. And actually, that would be the show from March the 1st, which we re-aired last week because it was three dynamic women from the... God, I'm having a brain freeze.
Public Defender's Office.
Thank you. From the Public Defender's Office. Christine, Elisa, and Tiffany are leading a movement because there's been an unconscious appointment in their leadership, and they're very upset about it because as we're seeing from Washington on down to Los Angeles, we're getting people appointed to jobs that they have no experience with. Okay, and that seems to be one of their primary concerns with the public defender, in that they're trying to put them too closely aligned with the district attorney's office, and they see that as a move that's going to hamper their ability to serve the folks that they're here to serve. And so we want to thank those three ladies for coming in and doing that show. And as a matter of fact, they're doing a tour in our community right now. And so tonight, as we are on the air, they are also meeting with Skipp Townsend at Abundant Life Church. That's on the corner of 35th and Normandy. If you're interested in the public defenders and what they have to say about our future, their future, our circumstances, how disappointment may harm us but not help us. So that meeting's happening right now at the Abundant Life Church at 35th and Normandy. Then next Wednesday night, they will be coming to a ceasefire presentation as well, and that will be at the Church of Scientology Community Center on the 80th in Vermont. So you have tonight as an opportunity. You also have next Wednesday as an opportunity to speak to some public defenders and find out what's really going on in the city of Los Angeles. So with that, our public service announcements are done, and just want to welcome my dear friend to sit in for Skipp. He doesn't come very often, but when he does, he always has something special to contribute. So we really thank you for coming in tonight. So let's introduce our guests and allow them to tell you a little bit about themselves. And let's start with ladies first.
Okay. My name is Shonique Williams. I am a member at Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and I sit on the Dignity campaign for incarcerated women at Cut 50. So that's AB 2550, which will be on the ballots this November regarding the dignity of women incarcerated in California state prisons.
Okay.
And from there, I'll pass it on to Joseph. We'll talk more about me in a moment.
My name is Joseph Riggins. I go to school, and I like playing basketball.
And how old are you, Joseph?
I'm 11 years old.
All right. All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. We're so happy you're here tonight. It's always a special occasion when we have guests from our community. And unfortunately, this is our first meeting, but it will not be our last. And the fact that you're working with women incarcerated, dignity, and something you said when you introduced yourself about that. The quality of a woman after prison.
Okay, so I'm formerly incarcerated. I was released from California State Prison November 8th, 2017, due to a domestic violence situation. So I can't go into much details about my case. I'm currently on appeal. I was wrongfully convicted. I did not have a criminal background previous to the case, but I will say I was in that domestic violence situation for about 5.5 years. I had an active restraining order against my abuser at the time of the attack, and I am the person that called the police after he beat me unconscious, and we were both arrested. Charges were not filed against him. He was given an opportunity to testify against me in order to avoid all charges, and I was sentenced to 2 years state prison at 50%, so I had served 1 full year. And I'm just a strong believer in God, so with that, opportunities have come my way that I didn't have before, because I'm now able to be a voice to incarcerated people and formerly incarcerated people. So the enemy had a plan, but God had one that was way greater. So
well, you know what? The enemy really started with your abuser.
Oh, yeah.
Started with your abuser, and that's such a heartbreaking scenario for us as Black women, that we actually have someone in our life that would physically assault us. That's devastating. It's devastating. And so I find that kind of thing strengthens us. When you've been through it, you find that inner strength. This is the last time.
Right.
This is the last time. And fortunately, some of us survive it. Some of us don't.
Yes, ma'am.
See, and the point being is that we don't have to accept the abuse. That's the most important thing. We do not have to accept the abuse. That's coming from some flaw in the abuser.
Right.
All right. So I didn't want you to spend any more time on that than you're comfortable with. But you were talking about the things that you are doing now.
Yes.
And I wanted to get you to talk a little bit about that, how you're giving back and helping other women that have been through this.
Absolutely. So I'm comfortable 100% talking about my situation. Just the legalities of it I'm limited due to my appeal purposes. But so I'm comfortable speaking because now I've had an opportunity to put a voice because I survived. A lot of these women, they're facing life without long-term positions in prison. Some of them ended up dead. And I will say that, of course, there are men that are in domestic violence situations as well that are being abused. I will be honest and say that's not necessarily my platform. I'm not closed out to men that are being abused in their relationships, but I have a soft spot in my heart for the women because I've been there. So the empathy factor. So I take the things that I've gone through and I apply that to the work that I'm doing today with the Women's Dignity Campaign because...
That's what it was, Women's Dignity.
Women's Dignity Campaign because so many women that are incarcerated in prison throughout the world, but in California state prisons, I met them, I've talked to them, I've been there, and they're abused. Mm-hmm. They're victims. And the system is further victimizing them. The system is further taking their dignity. So I began to be raped and molested at the age of 2 by family members. So when you take all that in and you look at the demons the abuser faced in domestic violence, us victims face a lot too. Because somewhere along the lines, we stopped realizing, or we never realized that we were worth more than that, right? Or we found a desire in our hearts to save this person, even if that meant giving up ourselves, right? I wasn't one of the women that stayed necessarily on a full-on amount of fear. I stayed more so because I believed that I could help change him, because I did know what he was going through.
You know, and not to cut you off, but typically that's our story. Yeah. I can fix him. He's going to come out of this. And, you know, we had this very candid conversation about bullying. And that didn't just start with you.
No.
There was something in them before. Just like there was something in you from before that's never been resolved.
Right. See, he was getting bullied, and then he became the bully.
And then look.
And I was used to being bullied because of the way that I was raised.
Yes.
So
we
because
talked
of that,
about how that it becomes a normal. It becomes a normal thing for the women. This is what I should expect him to do. And if he loves me.
Cycle of abuse.
The cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
You see, so it's very strong. It's a very strong bond that too often we don't recognize it early enough.
Right.
We don't recognize it early enough. There's no way you could say if you knew he was going to do that, you'd stay with him.
No.
There's no way for you to know that.
See, I knew my abuser my entire life. His mom came to the hospital when I was born. His mom and my mom used to be friends. So I never thought that would happen to me. I'm one of those people that was like, it wasn't like that when we first became involved. I was in love with him. I love him to this day, but I love myself way more, you know. So I've learned that I can't save him. I'm not Jesus. My Savior is already here. His Savior is already here. You embrace that or you don't. But it's important because it does start with a bullying factor, and all these things fall in with each other. So I'm glad Joseph has the opportunity to be here, because oftentimes when kids come to school and they're bullying, it's because they're being abused at home in one way or another, or because they're being bullied at school, and that bullying now comes into a factor where they place that on other kids.
Right.
And so in order to combat this thing, we have to start when they're younger. We have to be comfortable having conversations with our 10 and 11-year-olds, sometimes even our 5-year-olds, because it's happening. They're seeing it.
Yes.
You know, they're seeing domestic violence. They're seeing sexual abuse. They're seeing these things, but no one wants to talk to them about it. So they're learning from other kids.
Well, you know what? Thanks to you, he's going to have a different outcome.
Oh, no, thanks to his mama. She don't play.
And you, too, it's the influence of the women around him now. And I'm going to say this because I'm very proud of the young people now. Very proud of what they did this week, you know, because of the killing of their classmates and that violence on their school campus. Right. They actually are taking a stand and making older people look stupid. They really are. So I have all my hope in the future in them because, you know, they've seen so much. They've seen so much. They've been exposed to a whole lot more than I ever was at his age. I could even be called a sheltered child by comparison to what's going on in 2018. So it's exceptional. It's beneficial for him to be aware that bullying is real, where bullies come from. And we've had the best conversation about bullying with young girls his age. They came and talked to us about who was bullying them and why were they being bullied. And one of the most outspoken, one of them, I think that was Faith, actually asked her bully, "Are things all right for you at home?" Just ask her straight up to try to make a different dynamic between the two of them. Instead of you victimizing me, how can I reach out and change your mind about that? You know, so I'm excited for Joseph because it's going to be a whole new world when he reaches his 18th birthday. We as a people are in recovery from the darkness that we've lived that may have added to the violence that was perpetrated against you. You know, so I really like that dignity for women, that idea, because it's not that black women haven't gone to prison, but certainly the prison population has certainly grown over the last few decades. So
by 700%.
700
for women, yes, in the prison system, not jails, not juvenile halls, in the prison system, yes.
700%. Wow.
So when we're talking about dignity for incarcerated women, it's on this deep broad that people wouldn't think about. We're talking about these women coming from these sexually abusive situations, these domestic violence relations, and then now they're being put in prison, and they're being touched by male guards against their will. They're being raped. They're being molested. All these things are happening. When there's positions for women, there's female guards available, and they'll be standing right in the room and allowing a male guard to search these women out to their complete undress and shining a flashlight in all their private areas. And it's like, we're talking about dignity. And for some reason, when us women were being transported together, everybody joins and begins their cycle. And everybody starts, their menses. And for women that know we all go through that, that's embarrassing enough.
Yes, it is.
But imagine squatting and coughing with a man standing there and a flashlight down there.
Yeah.
And you on the floor, your body's fluids are coming out on the floor. That's taking somebody's dignity from them. So why are we doing it?
Don't they really want to humiliate you?
Yeah.
Would you really call prison rehabilitation or just lock up?
Nothing about, okay, so I went into prison with an associate's in criminal justice and a bachelor's degree in psychology with an emphasis in addiction, right? So against odds, I was succeeding, I was excelling. So the enemy didn't know who he was playing with, period, So my fight is real important because I got to see things in a way that some people probably wouldn't have known what to do if given that platform.
Right.
But because of the woman of God that I am, I've been able to take that and to grow from that. I tell everybody I'm a direct descendant of Joseph. There is no question about it because everything that was meant for his bad, not this Joseph, this is my baby, this is my nephew, but the story of Joseph in the Bible. Because when I went into that situation, there was nothing about it rehabilitative. As you said, that we were being further victimized.
Yes.
We were being stripped of everything.
Yes.
We were placed in situations where no matter how strong, no matter how beautiful you are, you were going through suicidal thoughts. You were going through some of the worst things. A woman committed suicide while I was in there, hung herself, and just the thought of they sent other incarcerated women that were in what's known as fire camp. They sent them to go help remove her body from her cell. Why would you send an incarcerated woman to go remove another incarcerated woman that's then found no hope and hung herself in her cell? And now that woman has to go back to her cell without providing her any counseling, without providing her any services. Where does the sense come in that? And some of what that woman went through that led to her suicide was she was placed in this prison away from her kids. Yeah. And see, I don't have any babies, but I listened to stories of women, and what they went through and the desire to be near their kids and stripped away from their kids.
Yes.
And she was provided one date that she was told she was going to go home to her children. And then they took that date from her. So there's a whole lot of mind games in the prison. And then we go back and we question, well, why is the suicide rate so high? California Institution of Women and CIW down in Chino was the last prison that I was housed at. There's only 4 women's prisons in the state of California. We have CCWF in Chowchilla, we have McFarland, and we have Folsom, and we have CIW. CIW has the highest suicide rate in the state of California. We only have 4 women's prisons. There's over 35 prisons in the state of California. So if there's only 4 women's prisons, how is one of our prisons have the highest suicide rate? Well, then we have to go back and start talking about dignity. You then sat here and rob this woman of everything. Everything. She's already been victimized on the streets. She did or may not have did whatever led her to prison. But we have the right to be free from cruel and unusual punishment. So wouldn't you consider that?
I agree with you. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you 100%. But California has not been motivated for prison reform.
No.
They've only been motivated to build more, to privatize them, to overcrowd them too.
Yes.
So the reform is really coming from the outside by way of young people like you that have been in there, seen the wrong, and can actually point it out. Like you said, there's something so offensive about a male guard watching a woman having her cycle, and he's in the midst of searching her. There is something, even doctors don't do that. There's something undignified about it. There's something that is it's a bullying. It's bullying. And I think the most important message that we could share with our women and our young people, don't go to prison. Whatever you have to do, make sure it isn't enough for you to be locked up. And
we could say that, but we got to tell the truth.
Well,
I didn't commit my crime,
that's
I went to prison.
That's the odd thing in your story.
So we have to talk about that. There's a whole lot of innocent people in prison, jail, juvenile hall.
Yes.
And so then we got to start talking about all these other things.
Yes.
We got to start talking about bail reform. And we have to start talking about all of this. See, I fought my case all the way through. I went through trial. But then we have to start talking about, two of my jurors, I had 12 men judge me, right? Not just men, but 12 men judge me. 2 of them kept stressing how they had to go on vacation, that they couldn't they didn't even want to sit on the jury. So that comes down to our black community for one, okay, because I was sentenced out in Banning. I was tried out in Banning. Oh, okay. And so part of that played a factor of where your trial takes place. But my people, I was not represented by my people. What? There was no young black adult in there.
Let me clarify that for you. There aren't any black adults on these trials in Los Angeles either.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I figured maybe I was in a white community. I don't really know.
No, let me clarify that. The last time I was on jury duty, and I really wanted to be on that case because it was a young man and it was a gang homicide. And because I work the street and law enforcement, I thought I'd be the perfect juror. The one question that got every ethnicity out of that jury box, have you or your family ever had any contact with law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am. In my case, it went deeper than that.
But
have you or anybody in your family?
You or anybody in your family ever had contact with law enforcement? Yes, first time you say yes, you're excused.
My case was about domestic violence. It got asked, has you or anyone in your family ever been arrested for domestic violence? Well, now, in the state of California, if the police officer can't determine who's the aggressor, that's what they say, they arrest both of us. But then you think of situations like mine. If I'm seatbelted in my car, my windows broke out on top of me, and the perpetrator standing outside the car.
It doesn't make any sense, ma'am.
I mean, I'm the one with the black eyes and all my hair pulled out, so it's versus somebody with no injuries. So you could determine the aggressor, but that's their safe way of saying, well, I don't know. That's their safe way of being lazy, not having to investigate, not having to do any work. So it's a systematic problem. So it's real easy for me to tell Joseph, don't go to jail, whatever you do. It's real easy. But I know it's not that simple.
Well,
so
I'm not trying to simplify it. It's just this baby's on the right track.
Right.
So I don't expect to see him in any video tape robbing a gas station or a liquor store or anything like that. He's already ahead of that. I don't expect to see him on the street selling drugs. He's already ahead of that.
But how real can we get? What do we see Trayvon Martin do?
Well, we can't, poor Trayvon was minding his own business.
Okay.
That's a whole different scenario.
You get what I'm saying?
And this baby saw what happened to Trayvon. Okay. So he knows much more than even Trayvon understood at 17. Trayvon thought he was in a safe community.
Right.
At his dad's house, in for a visit. He never expected somebody to stalk him.
Right.
See, Trayvon didn't do anything wrong.
No.
Joseph's not going to do anything wrong.
Right.
We can't protect him from those that may harm him. What I want him to do is not to do anything that's going to harm him, that's going to get him in lockup by his own means. This is the difference.
Right.
This baby's not going to jail.
No, he ain't.
He ain't got. Well, some of our friends, some of my associates, that's what their plan was. I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to get hard. I'm going to get my reputation. So there was a fad thing of that going on. This baby is not caught up in that thought process. So that's why I'm encouraged by him. And then he has you to back up that. You want to let Joseph say something? What do you think about all this we're talking about? You're 11, and this is some pretty heavy stuff.
How the bullying is going in schools, and how we have fights like every single day.
Do you? At your school?
Mm-hmm. We just had a fight today.
Today?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the two that were fighting, or?
Yeah.
What?
And they were just like, run up, and they started fighting.
That's junior high?
No, middle. Yeah.
You're in middle school now. Okay.
How was your adjustment when you first came home? How long was you gone for, first of all?
I was going for a full year.
4 years? A year?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't feel like I adjusted to being back yet. I've been out for months. I've just been on this, just path. I just haven't slowed down. I have been advised by some of the great mentors in my life to take a moment and to spend time on myself and to make sure I'm in the right space, like mentally and emotionally, spiritually. But I'm at a spirit of unrest right now because I'm home and I'm free from certain things. And then there's people that aren't. I left people behind that I truly love. I left women behind that I grew bonds with that I'll never forget. And some of them don't even have a date. Some of them are life without. Some of them have dates. Some of them have been in since they were 15 years old. Not in and out, but have been incarcerated since 15 years old. So I haven't really adjusted. I'm still there, and I'm still there because I have so much fight and so much work to do. So,
well, the thing is, show is you can be an inspiration for them. They can live your success out here on the streets they can live vicariously through your success.
Right.
And I'm sure you plan on keeping in touch with them and let them know how your success is coming along.
Yes.
And they can live vicariously through you.
Yes.
You see, and that's very important because I know before I came home, I was laced before I came home. And there are people who know what's going on, and they're living vicariously through me, and a lot of them never coming home.
Right.
So that's your chance right there to do something for them while you're here.
And that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm fighting for Women's Dignity Campaign. That's why I'm fighting for, AB 1940, the parole reintegration credits. And I've met some people that are home now, and I'm currently on parole. So I've met some amazing people. One of the main authors on the bill, Michael Mendoza, super awesome guy. He doesn't have a parole date, so he's home. After being locked up for 20-some-odd years with no date that he's going to be off parole. But he's doing amazing things in his life, fighting for people that are still in. Yeah. He's advocating left to right in the Capitol building. And you wouldn't know that this man was incarcerated until you hear his story, and he doesn't have a date. So things that we're doing on the outside mean so much.
It does.
I've got to be in the rooms with Tiffany Pollard regarding the... Not My PD. So it's just been really amazing to see all the growth that we're doing, and I understand why they feel that this woman has to be out of the public defender's office because you're taking us back. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You're taking us backwards. Yeah. We're doing too much. There was too much of a fight for Prop 57, for Prop 47, SB 260, SB 261. You're coming in and you're dismantling our work.
Right.
But you're doing it not realizing who you're coming up against. So I'm glad the Public Defender's Office has some of those fearless women that you mentioned because they play absolutely no games. Yes. I was so thankful I've got to be a part of their rally they had a few weeks ago. And like I said, I've sat in the room with them and they're dedicated.
Yes, they are.
And some of us never got that opportunity to be with public defenders that dedicated.
You know what? The point is, we take things for granted. Yes. We have taken things for granted. My child is innocent, but he's got a court date. I don't have $100,000 to pay an attorney. I don't know a $100,000 attorney. But my son has a public defender, and that's what I can afford, a public defender. So we put all of our weight on them, and our expectations too. So they've got the burden of us on them, and then they have the burden of the ones in leadership that don't want to let us go.
Yes.
So they're being pulled back and forth, back and forth. These, they know the difference between right and wrong. Like Elisa talked about, the overcharging. They're overcharging you just to get you whittled down to where you'll take that plea deal. You see, and these are the kinds of inside information that we as a people need to understand. That's why I was kind of joking with Joseph not to go to jail. But I know this baby's got a different future plan for him.
He don't have the option. He has to succeed.
He don't have an option. I like that.
No.
See, he ain't got no option, honey.
He knows.
It's all right, because look at that face. He's in his right mind.
Yes, he is.
Wants something more.
Yes.
He wants something more, and that's what we want from all of our young folks. And I can't tell you how disturbing it is for me that you were the victim, but then you got arrested as the assailant. Mm-hmm. And what's amazing, in a year, they couldn't figure out that you were the victim and let you out.
Oh, no. See, so my case happened December 1st, 2014.
Okay.
I was found guilty May 5th of 2017, and then I was sentenced November 10th, 2016.
Wait a minute. You said from 14, and then you had your trial.
Yes, and I was sentenced May 5th of 2000. I'm sorry, I was found guilty May 5th of 2016.
But, okay, from 14 to 16,
I was
where
fighting,
were you?
Fighting
you were
the case.
Oh, okay.
But I was out. I originally bailed out, and then a new charge came. My charges got trumped. So I went from a felony assault with a deadly weapon to an added charge of felony criminal threats. How lovely that works. And so a new bail was required, but they let me out OR on that situation. So that was a blessing. But
I don't mean to joke, but I tell you.
Oh, it's a joke now in some ways.
It is. It's a joke in here because a woman like me, you're going to arrest me for assault and battery? I'm going to make sure you got something to arrest me for.
Yeah,
you won't be guessing. You won't be guessing, and that's really the point I'm trying to make. Women take so much. We deal with so much, and the unfairness in it sometimes it's troubling for me. Sometimes it is. And
right.
The thing is, it's a blessing and a curse because a lot of the black women don't know how special they are. They don't know their worth.
Yeah.
See, they don't know their worth because ain't no woman on this planet been through what the black woman's been through and came out with head held high. No other woman, so they got to know their worth. Sad to say, they don't. They go along with these programs, these relationships, and they don't realize, they can walk away, but they choose not to because they don't know what love is.
Wait, hold up.
Hold
Hold up. We can't say women in domestic violence have the opportunity to walk away and they don't. That is a false reality. Yeah. I'm glad you have the followers and the viewers you do, because domestic violence is not that simple.
No, it's not.
Domestic violence, the world sees the physical abuse we go through. The world sees the busted lips, the black eyes, the pulled out hair, but they do not see what you go through spiritually. They don't see what you go through mentally. They don't see what you go through emotionally. If it was so easy to get up and walk away, you would. So see, we could take my story back a little bit. I went into foster care at 14 years old. Okay, I first became homeless, although I was a foster child at 15. I slept in a park at 15 years old. Okay, in that situation, a lot of things happened. I was gang raped. I went into a whole bunch of different situations where I went from foster home to foster home, group home to group home. There was no foundation in my life like what Joseph has today, so the people in his life, we've gone through things, so we know that he can't be that. So there was no mother, no father, no aunt, no uncle. There was nobody in my life for me to turn to. So I'm on these streets. I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't involved with alcohol. I wasn't doing anything that society would have you believe that young girls that were out on the streets would be doing. I was out on the streets because I had nowhere to go. Okay, so as I started going through these group homes and in these foster homes, I was angry. I did do things as far as I would get suspended at school. I fought for everything because I was angry. So I didn't understand. So I went through battles of suicide. I went through, I was an angry girl. I was, that black BI, that nobody wanted to talk to and nobody wanted to deal with. And
That
that was
angry
fine
black
by
woman.
me.
Here's one. I'm one.
That's
Okay.
good. You speak from your perspective. I was just generally speaking. I was speaking.
But no, I'm
all
generally
the situation.
speaking for all domestic violence people too.
Yes.
It's not easy to walk away.
I understand that. I understand what you're saying, right? But you said from your point of view, but there are other point of views also. So go ahead.
I've to this day never met a woman that was abused, that was a victim of domestic violence, that wanted to walk away, had every opportunity to walk away financially, mentally, emotionally, and she chose to stay. See, I've met domestic violence victims that they were told by their abuser if they left, they were going to kill her. Mm-hmm. They were going to kill her kids.
Right.
And they were going to, rob her of this. They were going to rob her of that. She was going to have nowhere to stay. So the reason I was telling my story is because, see, I was homeless, remember? So when I got in a relationship with this man, I began to live with him and his mother. And him and his mother began to take all of the income that I had, the little bit I had, because I was working part-time. So I wasn't financially there, on top of wanting to nurture him and bring him up, mentally thinking I could do that. I wasn't financially able to be in a different situation, right? So once I got that grounding, once I got that footing years into the relationship and I was able to leave and the fear was gone, because there's a whole lot of fear that plays in, even for us tough women. Yes. There's a whole lot of fear. So I never bust him upside his head because I feared, okay, if I do that, where's this going to go? Am I going to have to deal with him and all those that run with him too? Because, a lot of times in domestic violence relationships, those women that have gone through it, you got the mama all of a sudden wanting to fight you, the sister all of a sudden wanting to fight you. So I went through that. I've been jumped by his sisters and fought with his aunties because people think it's just this whole thing, especially in our communities, the Black communities, Hispanic communities, minority communities. Domestic violence isn't viewed as domestic violence. It's viewed as fighting.
Yes. And then two, they usually blame the woman.
Yes.
They blame the woman.
What did you do? What did he hit you for?
Why you let him do that? Why you
knew he was drunk? Why you didn't leave?
Yeah, why?
You know how he is?
Yes,
so
you know
that's
how
what we
he
went
is.
through. So I've never met a victim that had the ability to walk away and stay. Because once we have the ability to walk away, we do. Unfortunately, some women find that in order to walk away, they have to take his life first because he's not going to let you leave freely. Right? So although my case happened December 1st, 2014, I was not involved with that man since August of 2013. So for almost a full year, he was completely out of sight, out of mind. But guess what happened the night of my case? He believed that I was pregnant with somebody else's child. And I was his. So I had no right to be pregnant with somebody else's baby. I was abstinent at the time. But that didn't matter. He was convinced in his mind that I hadn't talked to him in 6 months because I was pregnant with somebody else's child. Right? So now he took it upon himself to remind me physically that I belonged to him. And that's how my case unfolded. So when I go and I'm now completing this domestic violence training, right? The women that are in that room, there's so many stories of how they called the police. And the police didn't arrest him. He was gone when the police arrived. The police filed charges, but then they had to drop the case because the jurisdiction was wrong because of a technicality, because it happened on this side of the street instead of that side of the street. Even one of the women, she had a horrible story. She had to go through surgeries. He disconfigured her face, all these things. Right. And her case had to be dropped because it happened on the freeway. Highway Patrol was supposed to respond. It should have technically been handled by LA County PD, but instead Rialto PD responded. And why does the victim have to go through that? So there's a whole bunch of things that people don't talk about when it comes to the abuser. But to this day, I stand up for us because I know it's not easy to walk out of a domestic violence situation. Like I said, I don't have the kids, but a lot of these women said they were afraid for their children.
Afraid for their children.
He was the breadwinner.
They don't have the
He was the breadwinner.
There
She's at home.
Yes.
She's at home taking care of the kids on welfare.
You know what? Sometimes the abuser wants it that way. He wants you financially dependent upon him. That way he can control you the way he wants to.
Right.
If you don't have money, you ain't going to be on the corner with nobody.
Nope.
You ain't going to be around the corner with nobody.
Nope.
You're going to be sitting here broke in this house right where I can find you.
Yes, ma'am.
And so...
Won't let them go to school sometimes. Anything to better and further themselves.
That's a control issue. Right. That's a control issue.
A bullying issue.
Yeah, a bullying. You said bullying. Thank you. See, he gets it.
He watched me go through that.
And I wonder sometimes if some of these conversations we have are too adult. I think they are. but our kids don't get the time to have the fantasy.
Because they get to see
fantasy.
it, but nobody talks to them about it.
They see it.
They're
yes.
seeing it, but nobody's talking to them about it to
talking
understand how they're processing it and how they're seeing it. You know, so he was there, you know, during stages of my trial and things like that. He may not have understood what was going on.
Right.
You know, he may not have understood why my eye was black or why my lip was busted, but he was there. You know, he didn't get to see a fight happen in front of him, but the kids see it.
And
some kids do see the violence happen directly in front of them.
Very common sense way. You didn't give yourself a black eye.
No.
Oh, we have a phone call. Oh, okay. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, welcome to Game Talk. Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, my name is Gabrielle. I was calling to ask Shonique, what are some of the signs that a woman can recognize when she's in her relationship to prevent her or save her from an abusive or domestic violence situation?
Hi, Gabrielle. I love your question. So what I think is necessary and what needs to begin happening, first off, it needs to start in the schools, the signs of domestic violence, the little things that we don't realize, the control financially, isolating the victim away from their family and their friends, but they're not realizing that's what's happening. So you're from Los Angeles, California, you ain't never been anywhere but, and then your abuser has this bright idea to move you to Northern California. No friends, no family there. And I'm not saying every time, but a lot of times in the domestic violence stories I've heard, they were moved away from their friends and their family, everything they knew, and found it difficult to move back and to reconnect. So I would say start with the small things. It's one thing for a man to suggest, you know, wearing your hair a certain kind of way, dressing a certain kind of way, but when it gets to the point where he's telling you, I don't like when you wear your hair like that. I don't like when you wear that outfit. I don't like when you wear makeup. And it's not a common way. It's not a, you know, done in a respectful kind of way. Because of course sometimes we want advice.
Kind of way.
Yeah, sometimes we want advice, you know.
Yes.
But a lot of men don't like answering if we look fat in our outfit. They want to stay away from that, right? But with the abuser, you'll find them talking about what you can't wear and what you can't do, where you can't go, who you can't talk to. And many people think if they're not being physically abused, it's not domestic violence. But domestic violence comes in many forms.
Yes, it does.
Yes, mentally, emotionally,
yes.
as well as physically. So I would say pay attention to that beautiful thing called women's intuition we have. As a woman of God, I call that discernment, but pay attention to that women's intuition we have, because it won't steer us wrong, and we'll get that feeling that something's not right, you know, with the conversation, you know, and you might just be in an argument and he says something that's just completely unacceptable, and he'll come back later and apologize, whatever that situation is. You may have expressed to him something very deep and personal about yourself or your family, and then the moment you guys are in an argument, he'll throw that at you. Pay attention to those things, because there's a great chance that he's going to be emotionally abusive in your relationship. There's a very, very big chance. So it's too broad of a thing for me to say as far as signs, but I recommend looking up the signs and the cycles of abuse. They're available widely online. I would love for there to be a space, like I said, in the schools for domestic violence training. Because I began my relationship at 18, I didn't know the signs. Although I had loving people that began to come into my life, I wasn't comfortable talking to them about it, because for one, I didn't realize it was abuse.
Right.
And then by the time I did, it was, you know, I was trying to fix it and I was trying to solve it on my own.
Candy Lewis was here a few weeks ago, and her expertise is dating violence. Teen dating violence. And we never think our teens are going out dating and being abused. We never consider that, but it happens. That bully comes from the home. If he grows through his teen years, when does he stop being a bully? If he's seen his mother abused at home, that's who he is. If his sister has seen her mother abused at home, that's who she becomes.
Right.
This guy that loves me gonna knock me around because that's what my mom took. And if it was okay for her, then it must be okay for me, you see. And so it's a cycle that's so closely connected that by the time it gets to you, at this time, he was already done. He was already done. You're the one that didn't know, wasn't expecting that from him until something he did, some kind of way he acted, and you saw something different.
For me, I stopped making excuses. Every time we were involved with each other in a situation where he attacked me, where he beat on me, he was always drunk. And there came the time where years down the line, he wasn't drunk. So for me, that's when it clicked, because all the other apologies was, I'm sorry, I was drunk. Oh, I blacked out, but the whole time, that was the excuse, So when that came off, but like I said, it was years down the line for me when that occurrence happened.
Right.
And it started slowly. It didn't start right away. And that's what I would, want people to understand. It starts way smaller than that. It started with the conversations of not wanting me to wear makeup. It started with the conversations of not to wear that, and where are you going? Who are you going with? It started with the small stuff, the control.
Yes.
But I didn't realize that. I was in love. We cute. We got matching outfits on. We taking pictures.
It's a love that blinds us.
Yes.
It's a love. And you know what? I understand that. You loved him. And the thing that comes in our mind, if you love me like you say you do, you wouldn't do this to me.
But see, it's a sick cycle, because I can sit here today and say I don't believe when he started the relationship that he intended to abuse on me. I don't believe that. But what happens is, if we don't deal with our issues, if we don't deal with our demons, we don't uproot that thing and start working through our healing process, and we get into a relationship, those things begin to explode and those things begin to come out. So when your partner begins to say something you don't like, and you're already used to seeing violence in your home, you're used to watching your mom and your sister being beat on, and you noticed it was because she disrespected the guy by getting loud or by saying something. Now, when your girlfriend do it to you, you love her and you care about her, but now you busting her in her mouth too, because your stepdad did it, your dad did it. Woman she's not supposed to talk to you like that. You're the man. So who does she think she is? Right. But you can call her out of her name. You can call her the B word, but she can't call you one.
Yeah, that's the amazing part of it. But, that's the nature. See, that's the way it works when women are the abusers, too.
Yes, ma'am.
It works the same way.
Hey, Gabrielle, we didn't know you were still here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just listening. Now, I did have a question for Joseph, and this goes back into bullies in the school system. Now, Joseph, how do you feel comfortable talking to your parents about what happens at school, completely being honest, or do you kind of shy away from those things because you don't feel comfortable expressing yourself?
Sometimes I kind of shy away from it, because at the same time, I don't want the parents getting into it to where they start fighting the kids and the kids start fighting the parents.
Yeah, I do fight kids if they mess with my babies. I ain't gonna lie. Okay. Yeah. All right, Jody, I gotta stop.
Somebody has to protect our children. Somebody has to protect our children. And if the school is dropping the ball, then they leave that door open for the parent to come. And the sad thing is that we have had parents go and talk to schools and tell them, my child's under this threat. We need you to do something about this bullying that's going on. The school has been nonchalant about it. It'll pass, it'll go away, it'll disappear, you're overthinking it. And then to have that bully child go home and commit suicide, well, somebody failed them. Right. Somebody failed them. See, and so you said, candidly, it's not going to happen to him without me. You see, and so our kids have to have that assurance that somebody is looking out to protect them. Somebody.
So what do we do, Joseph? If you feel if you come to Auntie Shonika's, he knows there's a great chance things ain't gonna go too. I ain't gonna lie. If it's a one-on-one, we all good.
Yeah.
Depending on how big the person is.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that side myself.
But if it's more than one, we got a problem.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, what do you want us? How do you want us as adults in your life to handle the situation, so that way maybe we know how to deal with other kids? Other parents know how to deal with their kids, because a lot of people are going through bullying, and a lot of parents are trying to figure out what to do. And a lot of parents respond like me. I'm about to go down there and I'm about to show them, and I'm showing their mama, their daddy, and anybody else, and the principal. So if we can't have that kind of attitude, what do we do to combat the bullying and to serve you?
I want it to be where you guys, like how you tell us to use our words. I want y'all to do that, so then you guys don't get in trouble for trying to hit on the other kid.
Amen.
Can I hit the parent?
No.
Okay. All right.
He said you teaching him to use his words. He trying to tell you, use your words.
And he's right. He's right. We forget about that because we get so emotionally charged because the schools don't step in a lot of the time, and when we see these results of the issues happening, there was a point a few months ago where, as you saw, there was child after child committing suicide, babies 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, and the parents crying on set on TV and everything, saying, I told the school I didn't know what to do, and you can't keep pulling your kid from school to school, because the truth is there's a bully at every school.
There's a bully in every school, and I'm going to tell you, the bottom line is to hold the school accountable. You have to hold the school accountable. Look, if my child has told you, and I hate to go back into history, but Devon Bailey, 6 years old, came to his school with bruises all over him. All right. And they noticed the bruises. Wake up. Okay. They noticed the bruises on the 6-year-old. They were just about to, when his abuser killed him. In a drug frenzy, he killed that little 6-year-old boy. Now, the school already knew the boy was being abused, but they did nothing to stop this, and eventually Devon was killed. His drug-addicted caregiver thought that he could escape to Las Vegas and go on being a drug abuser. Well, LAPD is the one that put together the task force, not the school. The school didn't help LAPD do anything for that 6-year-old child. They went to Las Vegas and found him and brought that killer back to L.A.
Jump in for a moment. I don't know if Skipp let you know. He goes out and he holds, I don't know if he has a title for it, but he holds a session for 2 periods in continuation schools in the Fontana area, right? So I had the amazing opportunity to go be a part of that conversation in that classroom with him this week. And the truth is, so many schools are shutting out that opportunity because Dignity and Power Now, I don't know if you know DPN, they do a lot of that same work. They're going into schools here in Los Angeles. But the schools, the school boards and things like that, they don't want to pay into that.
No.
But you have people that were formerly incarcerated, some that just have a desire to combat social injustice, saying, let me go out and let me talk to these kids before they even go, before there's an opportunity for jail, before there's opportunity for prison, for the grave. Let me go and talk to them and let me tell them this is the reality. But this is what we can do, because the truth is everybody doesn't have the foundation Joseph has. And that's the sad reality of it, because some people don't have a loving family to go back and talk to. So let's create that space in the school.
Well, you know what? You're a perfect example of what you're talking about. You went to
but the school's got to let us in,
and group homes and all that not stable. And we are a generation that have overlooked that. We've let our kids just fall away. And where has been our presence to say, hey, let's make a place for them.
So like I told Skipp, if you're 14, 15 years old and you're sleeping in a park, you are not worried about an English class. You're not worried about a science class. You're not worried about a math class. You're worried about, am I going to be attacked again when I'm sleeping in this park tonight? You're worried about if you can get some school lunch the next day, something extra from somebody to eat for dinner that night, because now you're only eating at school.
Yes.
So you're worried about a whole bunch of other things. You're worried about, is the kids going to tease me because I'm smelling and because my clothes are dirty, but they don't know that I don't have hygiene products. I don't have nowhere to shower. I don't have no clean clothes. I don't have anybody in my life that cares. I don't have anybody in my life that's doing anything. So it's a whole bunch of things happening, but I think that what we have to do is just let's broaden the radio shows. Let's broaden the second calls with Skipp. Let's broaden Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and we desire to do it.
Yes,
we're saying it's a problem. We're desiring, just give us the space, because we can bam on the doors all day, but if you don't open the door, I mean,
well, this is a place our churches. Come on, they have the space, they have the time.
Well, I'm a part of a loving church. Shout out Rafa Ministries. I'm a part of a loving church. So what I didn't share is one of my group homes, there was difference there, right? Not the group home in itself, but two of the staff members was a husband and wife. My godparents, hey now, they probably watching. Pastor Tyrone Riggins and Pastor Tyrone Riggins and Shirley Riggins. So they provided a space for me where I felt loved and comfortable, but I was broken so much that it was difficult to accept that, right?
Yes.
But some people don't feel comfortable going to that church building, let's be honest, because they've had church hurt.
Yeah.
They've heard about church hurt, even though they may not have experienced themselves.
Well, you know what? I'm not asking people to come to the church. I'm asking the church to go out, open the doors, and make this available so people have a place to come.
And see, what
That's
I'm
the one
saying
thing our churches are not doing.
My church is doing that and does that. But getting the people, because it's, I don't want to hear about your religion. We're not here to talk about it. We're not here to talk about religion. We're trying to talk about you. We're trying to figure out what can we do to help you. But it's this block and it's this wall a lot of times.
But aren't the churches getting shot up? Aren't the churches getting shot up?
Well,
no.
Well, he's talking about the Charleston shooting. The church did get shot up.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, church ain't safe either, but...
Well... We're in Los Angeles, all right, and truthfully, in South Bureau, we have over 400 churches in these 4 precincts, police precincts. We have over 400. There have not been any church shootings in L.A., and that one in Charlotte was different. That was different. That was something wrong with that young man, that he made that his purpose to go do that. So it was him. It wasn't God. It wasn't the people in the church. There's something wrong with him.
And then how she said how when people have that love for you, you have that foundation already. But the police, like, they don't do nothing but when you're getting abused. But if you're getting, like, whooped out of love, they're going to do something.
Well, you know, that's
talking
a
about
whole
that child
program. We need to have you come talk to us about that, because a lot of our parents have stepped back because they feel they've been robbed of their parental rights.
Yes.
You know, that if I hit my child or even raise my voice, he's going to call social services. They're going to come arrest me. So a lot of parents just balked under that. And then we actually have a generation of parents that were afraid of their kids.
So what do we need to do at this point? Tell the churches, open these doors, because we're willing and we need a space to talk to these babies, because they got something they want to talk about.
And our churches really need to have a broader agenda than just service.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm all for outreach, especially with at-risk youth.
Yes.
Because I was that at-risk youth.
And you know what? And we failed you. We failed you.
Oh, I let people know. Society failed me. Yeah, they did.
Our community. But we have a lot of failings that went on in that time period that caught you up. Right. And I'm just glad that you're safe. You're still in your right mind. You're still moving forward. You're working with a beautiful young man like this. He is our future, family. Look at that beautiful face. He is our future. And any one of them that can smile at you like he does, he's the hope. Yes. So in our last couple of minutes, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yes, I would love for everyone to do more research, become involved with the Women's Dignity Campaign. That's AB 2550. It's an amazing piece. If you guys could just read that bill context, contact Cut 50. Anti-Recidivism Coalition, Initiate Justice is moving forward with the voting initiative. Please be involved with that. That's a great movement as well. Restoring the voting rights to parolees and those that are incarcerated in state prison, and also AB 1940.
Where can we find you?
I can be found all over the place. So on Instagram, SHO_TRUE_BEAUTY. Show True Beauty. I can be found on Snapchat, but due to what they did with Rihanna, that may be getting deleted. Just put that out there. So I ain't going to tell y'all my Snapchat information. I got to pray about that. But on Facebook, I can be found under my name, Shonique Williams. That's SHONIQUE. Last name Williams, WILLIAMS. I'm very open to talking. I respond to all messages that I receive. I would love to come out, speak to the youth at your church, at your school. It doesn't even have to be youth, just someone that you believe would benefit from this topics regarding domestic violence and all of those things. I am now a domestic violence advocate, so I am able to speak to domestic violence victims as well as perpetrators according to state law. So reach out.
You got a final word, Joseph, for your friends? You got a final word?
Mm-hmm. I want to say that just love yourself and not, like, if you're getting bullied at school, don't do stuff because other people are doing things to you. Just believe in yourself and you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Oh,
I love that.
I love that.
I love that.
Who
I
raised
love
you?
our future.
They must have been some awesome people.
Our kids are. They really are. Look at him. He's
I was talking about those of us that
example.
raised him. He got enough credit already today.
Well, God bless your community family. That was a fast hour. And Gang Talk is so happy you came and joined us. Thank you, Joseph.
We'll be back.
And we'll be back next week.
Bye, everybody.